Somebody once said that life is one damn thing after another. I think if you look at it, we're basically always in one of three positions. We're either going through a storm where the shit is really hitting the fan. We either just got over one, if we did get over it, or there's a storm on the way and we just don't know about it yet. This being the case, I wanted to make this video about how to stay calm, how to keep your brain calm when the storm comes. What that storm may look like is going to be different for all of us, and it may come to a different degree, maybe more intense for some of us than others. But one thing that we know for sure is that if you can handle the storm, that you can handle life, and you'll grow more real. Let's go. So the first thing I want to say is that when the storm comes, your brain tries to protect you, but more often than not, it just ends up making the situation worse. Here's what happens, the abridged version. When you see the storm on the horizon, your brain basically perceives a threat. When you perceive a threat, your natural instinct, which is a good thing, is for you to go into fight or flight mode. Your sympathetic nervous system kicks into gear, and that's it. Once it's happened, all you can really do is just focus on that threat. This is called cognitive tunneling. It's basically like you're in a tunnel, and the only thing that you can see or perceive or focus on is this looming storm that's coming towards you. And then, of course, because you're just so focused on it, because you're caught in the tunnel, the storm gets closer and closer and closer, and then you're in it, and all you can focus on is all of the chaos and all of the problems and the horrible things that are taking place as this storm sweeps around you and threatens the very foundation of your life. And so when you find yourself in that situation, you have two things going on that both kind of suck and they're making life difficult for you. One is that internally, your brain is kind of holding you in a position where you become so fixated and so rigid on the situation that you actually lose your ability to be responsive and to navigate life outside of the tunnel so that you can actually either learn from the storm or so that you can do something about the things that you can do something about. The second thing that sucks is obviously if you're in a storm, while there is some external stuff going on around you, that is not particularly easy to deal with. And so the solution is to learn how to kind of regulate yourself, how to get your nervous system basically to allow the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for rest and digestion, to counterbalance the crazy fight or flight stuff that's going on so that you can start to open things up again, get out of that tunnel and not be so fixated on the problem that you forget about the solution. And that's ultimately what we're going to talk about with the rest of this video. But the reason that you find the storm to be so difficult is because actually there's something going on inside you at this very biological level that's making it way worse than it needs to be. And so what you need to do is to kind of open things up, like I said, bring some more reality into the equation, and to see the storm as something that has been sent to help you and to set you free, rather than the threat that your brain perceives it to be. On top of all this biological stuff that's going on inside of us, we complicate things to an extra level because of the mental and emotional relationship that we have with ourselves that causes us to handle uncertainty and the uncertainty that the storm is bringing into our lives in the most negative way possible. Ultimately, it boils down to two things. First of all, we don't trust ourselves. There is some core belief or some core story that we're telling ourselves that we're not good enough, that we're not strong enough, that we can't handle things, despite having handled everything that's happened to us so far in life. And so we fill in the blanks, i.e., we project that negativity, that belief of not being worthy or whatever, onto the storm, and we perceive our own weakness getting closer and closer and closer. That's just because it's human nature, really, to doubt that something good could be coming from uncertainty. Because normally we're in that cognitive tunnel and we just assume there's a threat on the horizon. So the first thing is we don't trust ourselves. The second thing is we don't trust life. In this case, we don't trust the storm. Again, our natural tendency is to focus on the negative when we see a threat. We have no doubt in most cases that something negative is real. If someone tells us that something negative is true, we doubt the positive way less. And that's exactly what we do in the case of the storm. We see the storm looming on the horizon, and we instantly default to thinking that the worst case scenario is about to unfold. We don't see, unless we train ourselves to do so, that the storm is actually a gift. It's not coming to destroy our lives. It's coming to free us from all of the things in life that are holding us back from that true experience of real being. So I'm sure that sounds really nice, me saying that these black clouds, these storms on the horizon, or even the storms that are swirling around us right now are actually blessings or gifts that have been sent to free us from all of the terrible things that keep us from ourselves. But the reason I can say this is because of something I've said many times before. What's real is always real. You can't lose anything real. This is because anything that you can lose is just a fragment. It's temporary. It's impermanent. It's not the permanent truth about you, which is always with you. And as things swirl around you in the storm, it may take things away, but it can't take any of the real stuff away. It can only actually take away the things that stop you from seeing that more clearly. And so if you understand that what's real is always real, then actually any storm, no matter how shit it seems at first, is actually just feeding into that process. And if you approach it with the right attitudes, and by stepping away from some of those default instinctual ways of just getting into fight or flight mode, then you can actually use the storm as something that's going to allow you to live a much better life than you did before the storm came. And this is why, I think it was Haruki Murakami or someone said, the person that you are when you go into the storm is totally different when you come out on the other side. Whether you're a worse version or a better version or an unreal or real version depends on you and your approach to it. And that's why, if you can see it in a real way and understand that what's real is always real, then you increase the odds of the storm being a natural blessing or a boon. So what is this real approach to facing the storm? I want to give you 3 things that I've seen really help people that I've been coaching and that's helped me in my own life. They're 3 kind of attitudinal shifts that if you can train yourself to basically interact with life through the lens of, then you're going to wake up that nervous system. You're going to be able to relax more because you're seeing things outside of that cognitive tunnel, which is what keeps the storm raging in a way that you don't want it to be raging in, because it's just going to cause more resistance, friction, frustration, and misery. So let's look at these 3 things. The first thing that you can do is to embrace the chaos. That sounds really badass, embracing the chaos. And it's fun, because ultimately when you embrace the chaos, you kind of let go of all of the self-imposed order that you're trying to cling to, and you move into a state of acceptance over resistance. If you go into the storm and you're trying to cling to all of the things that the storm is trying to kind of pull out of your life, like your routine and your expectations and your assumptions and etc., if you cling to all that stuff, then you're just going to make life more difficult. And the reason that you try and cling to all those things is because they provide you with a sense of certainty or a sense of meaning, or they just make life seem significant in some way because they're attached to who you think you are. But like we've said, the storm is actually helping you to go into a deeper relationship with yourself and a deeper relationship with life. And so if you cling to all that stuff, all of the false order and control, then actually what you do is you make your experience of the storm more difficult. Some of those things are going to be gone forever by the time you get to the other side of the storm. And so by holding on to them, you're just increasing the tension in your life. If you learn to let go, then what you really learn to do is the 2 things that I talked about a few minutes ago. You learn to trust yourself because letting go means that you're letting go of all those things that are actually holding you back from yourself at some level. Because ultimately, that order is just a little box you've created to keep the shadow self from emerging. And so the storm is going to bring some of those qualities to the surface. But then the second point is that if you let go of all those things, the false order, whatever you want to call it, you're going to learn to trust the storm. And so by embracing the chaos, you take yourself out of your old conditioned ways of doing things, and you actually put yourself in reality where you can learn to be responsive and to navigate according to the present moment and what's actually happening. And so by embracing the chaos, you can actually find a strange sense of peace because you're no longer working against the storm, you're working with it. And when you've got that peace, that's when your parasympathetic nervous system can start to kick in again, and your thoughts are going to slow down, and you're just going to be able to relax amidst all this chaos and crazy energy that's swirling around you, because you know that it's taking you where you need to be. The second thing that you can do, which will serve you as you go through the storm, but will also just serve you in life as a whole, is learning to drop things. Now, I already talked about letting go, but what I mean this time is learning that experience is just experience, and that once you've experienced it, you can drop it and move on. When we're stressed and we've got that cognitive tunneling going on, that can be quite hard to do because we're so fixated on something that we just keep thinking about it, we keep having questions about it, we're trying to figure out what it says about us as an individual, what it means. But what we're actually doing by staying so locked onto things in that way, and it can literally be anything that we experience, is that we're keeping these experiences alive, even though they're not alive, longer than they need to be. Once something has happened, it's happened, it's done. But if we keep thinking about it, because we're trying to figure out what it says about us or what it means about the future or anything really, then what we're doing is we're taking ourselves again out of the present moment and our ability to ride with the storm. And so a good analogy or metaphor is like when you're in the tornado, there's all kinds of things kind of flying around you. Like maybe there's a cow going to fly past, or like some pieces of furniture or like a pickup truck, whatever it is. All of those things are just flying by. But if you become obsessed with them and you start asking yourself questions about what it means, what does it say about you as a person, that this cow just moved as it went past, etc., etc., then you just end up holding on to experiences that have no real value and that don't serve you in any way. The reason that we cling is because of our ego. We think that everything that happens means something about us personally. But actually, things are just happening in 90% of cases. And they have no kind of relevance to us. It says nothing about the story of our lives. And if you can understand that, then as you're going through the storm, you'll be able to understand that actually all these things are happening, but it's just part of the process. And it's just experience. So you can experience it, move on, and then go experience the next thing and the next thing until the storm is done. If you cling on to every little thing like it's the most important thing in the world, if you treat every fragment as the whole, then you're just going to cause problems for yourself. And if you can do that, then ultimately what you're doing is you're getting control of your emotions. You're realizing that not everything is a big deal. And again, it comes back to having that peace and staying grounded as you move through the world. And that is ultimately what the storm is teaching you to do. Because as you go into the storm, that's going to be a lot harder. As you come out of it, you'll be a lot more skilled at doing that. So experience your experiences, then drop it and go experience the next thing. The third thing that you can do is to prepare for discomfort and to befriend it when it arises. One of the things about reality that people have a problem with is that it doesn't care about the things that they care about. In fact, reality doesn't care about anything. It just is what it is. It doesn't care what we like. It doesn't care what we dislike. It doesn't care how we feel. It doesn't care what we want. It doesn't care what we expect. Reality is just reality. And that is very uncomfortable. We have to get out of our comfort zones as we start to learn that based on what's happening. and we go from a place of resistance to acceptance, i.e., letting go of our attachment to all these things, whatever they may be. When you understand this, you can learn to use the storm, which is just reality sweeping into your life. You can use the storm as something, like I keep saying, that reveals your realness to you. So that when you go into the storm, you may be a bit more unreal than you are when you come out of it. Because if you navigate it correctly, i.e. with acceptance instead of resistance, then you're going to be more real when you get to the other side. In coaching, there's 3 levels. There's the comfort zone, there's the stretch zone, and there's the panic zone. If you use the storm to get out of the comfort zone and to avoid the panic zone, and so to stay in the stretch zone, excuse the finger, then you can basically use the storm as a kind of vehicle for stretching yourself through your edge. Your edge is the boundary of your fear, basically. And fear, as the acronym says, is false evidence appearing real. A lot of the things that you fear are what are keeping you from accepting yourself and life at the deepest possible level and going into that place of trusting yourself and trusting life. And so if you can use the storm to stretch yourself, or you see it as something that is stretching you just beyond that boundary of fear, by preparing to be uncomfortable and to handle or to face whatever the storm throws at you, then ultimately you're going to get yourself in the stretch zone and you're going to feel good about life. The panic zone means that you've gone too far, and you would only get there if you're clinging too hard to all of these unreal things that the storm is trying to take away from you. You're panicking because you're so attached to them and you think that you need them that you just become overridden with fear, and you get more and more caught up in that cognitive tunnel that is stopping you from seeing clearly. And you see the threat has been bigger and bigger and bigger because you're more and more focused on it. If you can understand that that discomfort is a good thing, then it's going to take you to that stretch zone. And when you do that, you're going to feel that peace that comes from just knowing that you're on the right path and that the storm is helping you get where you need to be. Those 3 things will all help you to feel a sense of trust instead of fear as the storm swoops around you. It'll allow you to work with the storm instead of against it, and to remove unnecessary friction, frustration, and misery that just leads to more tension and more stress that keeps you in this dysregulated nervous system that just makes you feel really bad about life because you're getting so much cortisol pumped into you and all of your systems are out of control. And so the 3 things are learning to embrace the chaos, learning to drop things, experience the experience and move on, and befriending the discomfort so that you can ultimately learn from it and grow into the next level of yourself. There are other things that you can do as well, whether you're in the storm or whether you're preparing for one. And these are just simple lifestyle changes. So I want to finish the video by talking quickly about these, very quickly, so that whether you're in the storm or whether you're getting ready for the next one, you can be more prepared so you've got a stronger relationship with yourself and a stronger relationship with the storm, whatever that may look like. So I just want to finish this video with some foundational health habits that can benefit all of us. If you're already in a storm, then implementing these habits is obviously going to help you. If you're not in a storm, well, it's still going to help you because ultimately it's going to allow you to just level yourself up, have a better relationship with reality. But it also is going to be preventive so that when the storm does come, then you're going to have a more regulated nervous system. You're not going to be caught up in fight or flight. Basically, your body is going to be better equipped to handle stress. And that means your thoughts aren't going to be racing around as much. And so you can bring yourself into this mode we've been talking about where you work with the storm instead of against it. So I'm going to go through these really quickly. The first one is that you need to exercise. If you exercise, then your body is going to be in better condition. It goes without saying, but people don't necessarily think that exercise is as important as it actually is. So many studies now have shown that exercise is more beneficial than antidepressants and all that kind of thing. Our body is designed to move. It's designed to be strong, and it's designed for us to look after. And so if you do yoga, if you do weights, whatever it is, or ideally a combination of the two and some cardio, then your endocrine system is going to be better regulated, so your hormones are going to be buzzing around in the right way. Your nervous system is going to be able to handle stress much better. You're probably going to have better blood pressure and all that kind of stuff. All of these things add up so that when the storm does come, you don't feel like shit because you're adding unnecessary friction at the level of your own body. So do some exercise. Breath work is the second thing. Pranayama. Learn to breathe. Even if it's just breathing through your nose, paying attention to that. In fact, I would recommend that as just a starting point. If you breathe through your mouth all the time, then you're just causing all kinds of problems for yourself. We're designed to breathe through our noses. I won't talk about it in this video. Google and you will see what I'm talking about. Breathe through your nose, train yourself to do that. You'll be more relaxed. You're less likely to get infections and all that kind of stuff. But more importantly, your parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for relaxation, is going to be working and doing its thing, and you're just going to feel good. And so you're more likely to not get caught up in that fight or flight mode. The third thing is meditation. Meditation and breath work are obviously linked, but meditation ultimately is about concentration. If you learn to concentrate and to understand where your attention is going, then when all these negative thoughts are going around in your head that stop you from accepting the storm and working with it, then you're going to be able to catch them and you're going to be able to direct your attention on reality and acceptance instead of resistance. So learn to do that. The other thing is food. Eat healthy food, whole foods. That again comes back to your body being in optimum conditions so that you can handle stress. Your nervous system is going to be regulated to a higher degree. Sleep, and also build a support network. If you have these foundational health habits and you have the mental attitude that I talked about throughout this video, then the storm, when it comes, is not going to present a threat. It's going to present an opportunity. And it's all because you're going to be grounded in yourself. You're going to be grounded in your mental relationship with yourself. You're going to be grounded in your emotional relationship with yourself and your spiritual relationship, if you want to take it to that level. And you're going to keep moving despite the storm trying to shake you from yourself. So that was a video about navigating the storms of life. It seems like they're trying to shake us from ourselves, but actually, if you have a real attitude and you can get out of that cognitive tunnel and stop just focusing on the perceived threats, which are just our fear anyway, false evidence appearing real, then you realize that no storm can really shake you in any way, shape, or form. It can just help you to reveal yourself to yourself. When you get to the other side of it, and you always will because all storms pass, that's part of the deal, then you'll feel that you understand yourself more, you've got more awareness, you've got more acceptance about yourself and life, and you can take better action because you're more embodied, you're more grounded and rooted in who you really are. That's the gift of the storm. So if you're going through a storm yourself, if you want to get prepared for the storms that are coming, you can book a call on my website. Call it a virtual coffee, but coffee isn't mandatory. Either way, thanks for watching. Hope it helped. Peace to you.